What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to lesson number 40 for A Course in Creativity, inspired by a Course in Miracles workbook lesson of the same number. This is relating to blessings and being blessed and what that means, right? Because of who we are and the fact that we have spirit living in us and in everything and everyone around us. Usually it boils down to this. There is something outside of you that is being bestowed upon you or bequeathed unto you that you will then, it changes your state, it changes circumstance, and we think of blessing as something that exists largely outside of us, right? But what about the fact that we have the energy of blessing inside of us, not as something that we give to others solely, but that we are? When you look out into the world at all of the things that are moving, the moving parts in your life and around you, and you see manifestation, you see, things that you want to come to you. Are you in the energy of the stuff, or are you in the energy of who you are? Because I think about hope, right? I think about hope and the number of times where material conditions were not the best, and they weren't what I wanted them to be. In 2014, there was a time where I was woken up because I was so hungry in the middle of the night because I was not able to afford both housing and food in the way that I needed at that time. I don't share that story to be like, come to me, but to say hope. I recognize the material conditions can make hope hard. It can make hope feel really difficult and not just absent, but so abstract that it feels ridiculous to think about. But those are the moments. Hope is the reminder of who you are. Hope is the reminder of the light that's inside of you. And that's why we shine hope, right? That's why when you hear people talk about hope, it's usually about shining a light. It's usually about finding faith. It's usually about finding, a light in the dark. Because I do strongly and firmly believe that hope, based on my own experience, is really us calling out to a version of ourselves or to parts of ourselves that we can't see in the material conditions. And that perspective, my friends, is the blessing, right? That is a blessing. It's not something that's coming from outside of you and then life is amazing and great. It starts somewhere in here first. It starts internally first, right? Because things change all the time. They shift all the time. And that's a gift too. Chuck Spezzano talks about this in terms of, when we feel lack, we are being called to give what we think we lack, to remember, and this is my interpretation now, so to, as a reminder of who you are, as a reminder of the source that you come from, as a reminder of the energy that makes up your whole freaking body and energy system, right? So when you experience any kind of lack or the absence, right? Because that's really what lack is absence. And when you slip into presence, you find, and it becomes easier to hear in that stillness, that it's not that there's a lack of things, there is a lack of remembering who you are, because moments are temporary, right? Moments are temporary. Circumstantial events and things that shift and change that are based on situations and states of emotion, and I say this too, having grown up, I'm at my mother's house. We lived below the poverty line. So I say this understanding very well how material conditions can shift and change. I understand what it means to go hungry. Literally, I understand that feeling, so I can speak to this too from a place of saying that material conditions and circumstances will change. When we're looking for ways through those moments, we need to see that they are and can possibly be temporary, right? This isn't looking outside of ourselves saying, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket. I'm going to go do this because that's external thinking. That's external focus. Bring it back into yourself. Bring it back into yourself for a moment. In the moment that you feel the most discomfort and hunger, even as I've experienced before. If you bring it back into yourself and just sit with that for a moment, and you don't have to make peace with it. You can be mad at it. You can be upset. You can feel every single way. But the point is not to run from it, and to register in your mind and your heart that there is a presence that you possess that is bigger than that moment, right? That is bigger than that moment. And that perspective is not easy to have when you feel pangs of hunger or when you're in pain. That is not easy to always possess. And I'm not maligning those who are, it's not that you're less enlightened, not at all, because those are very real. Those are very real things. Those are very real responses that your body is having to a lack of food, to a lack of nutrients, right? I understand this very well. But there's a hope that we can always reach for. Even in the darkest of situations, or the most pronounced absences that seem to be true for us, right? And what I found in many situations in my life, in my experience, it's been not that there's a lacking of things that I need. It is the lack of looking to the right sources for the light that I need or have placed upon things outside of me, right? And discord, I've found any kind of discord or tension is really the misalignment. It's the out of alignment, the lack of alignment between my perspective of what it is that's outside of me and who I am creating as well. And we're not doing the blaming thing where we blame people for circumstances because of the law of attraction or things like that, right? We're not doing that because we live in a world where things change so quickly. And I think the last thing that the world needs right now is more reasons to blame itself, because there's so much chaos and hurt and hard, right? We don't have to align with the hard, but if it shows up on our path, the last thing that we need to be doing right now is blaming ourselves. So if you're watching this or know someone or hear of someone who is in that place and doing that very thing, it just went blurry for a second, or doing that very thing, tell them to go a little easier on themselves, right? Part of hope is compassion. Part of hope is empathy. And if you have empathy for other people outside of you, but not yourself, it's incomplete. If you have compassion for people outside of you, but not yourself, it's incomplete. That's not compassion or empathy, right? That's not compassion or empathy. Because then when it comes to the way that people treat you, you will allow and tolerate compassion and empathy to be incomplete in the way that they come to you, because what you're putting out is an incomplete version and vision of it. So remember to hold yourself as much as you do others. And this isn't even about being the change you want to see either alone. This is about remembering that what you're seeking is who you are, part of who you are, right? And we project things outside of us upon that which the ego is trying to protect in us or stop us from seeing, right? And, Rupert Spira put together this short video on YouTube about talking about this, and I found it very enlightening. Just that clip was that the ego isn't an entity, it is really a frame and a way of looking at the world. And the more that we see it as an entity, the more that we see it as like it's something that is like a thought form, which is not necessarily true. It's just a templating, right? It's just a program that we've inherited. But just remembering these things, that what you seek is who you are. What you think you're missing is who you are. And the reason why you think that it's missing is because you don't see it around you, but it is registering within you. And the reason why there's a resonance of I want that is because it's partially in you. So you're calling these parts back to you, and not through stuff, but through connection, through emotion, through experiences that remind you of that light in you, because that's really what those situations do, and not in some twisted narcissistic sense either, but in a way that taps into the empathy and the compassion for yourself and others. Because when you get into that place of recognizing that light, it makes it impossible. You can't help but shine it outwards. That's just how that works, right? That's just how that works. And we're all better for it when that happens, because that's a gift too. That's being the blessing. That's when you are the blessing for other people. And not because of what you do, but because you're here. It's you being exactly who you are right now, incomplete, messy, on the way, healing, never done, always unfolding, right here, right now, you. And that's how you are a blessing to other people. Because when you resist your light, when you resist that light, it doesn't just stop anything from flowing outwards or inwards. It means that you can't recognize that which you are, and you can't see it in other people either. And I think that's really how we bless one another, is by standing in our light and shining it outwards. Not because we're paving a path for others as some savior, weird saviorism. No, we're just shining a light, doing us and doing ourselves. And by virtue of that, that resonates with other people because they see that, and it lights up something in them too. So it's kind of how we shine the light for one another, really. And it's not just about, this is how we do the things that you need to do on your path and your mission and all this stuff. No, this is about being, right? It's about being. And anytime we externalize the notion of a blessing or some kind of gift bestowed upon us, what we do is deprive ourselves of presence because we're so focused on the absence. So remember to stay focused on the presence, and remember the perfection of where you are, and that you are perfect as you are, whole and complete, that incomplete version specifically, because the unfolding is also the way that we recognize our light too. That's your lesson for today. And there's no creative spark. I wanted to keep it short and sweet. concise. So, feel free to like and subscribe. But if you're already on the channel and you're already a member, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. And if this is where we part, though, I hope that wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope it finds you very well, my friends. Take care and have a wonderful day.